Warning, some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to Film Recaps. I will be reviewing a movie titled Soylent Green. Get the popcorn ready and popping. Now let us get to it. Soylent Green is a futuristic science fiction. The prediction is nearly good but does not quite hit the mark. It is set in the year 2022, showing highlights of New York at the time of the disaster, where the population has widely grown, leading to a shortage of food and mass poverty. The story is centered around the main character, Robert Thorne. One thing to be on the lookout for is the politicians making appearances or speeches on television, because they play an important role in the plot twists. Thorne lives with his aging partner Sol Roth. They live in a cozy apartment that is far better than the extreme conditions faced by those homeless. Sol Roth came up with the brilliant idea to combat power outages, which was to pedal a bicycle. The conditions were not favorable for anyone who could not afford the standard of living. Thorne made an honest living by working as a detective. That day-to-day life was spent with Thorne mostly going out and Sol staying in due to his age. He could no longer venture out. When going to work, walking on the stairs, he would normally find people camping or sleeping on the stairwell, making it hard to move easily. Politics is like a survival game. There are so many secrets and you are a target for foul play if you are a member of the team. Corruption never ceases amongst people of power. We are going to look at the life of the wealthy businessman, William R. Simonson. He was one of the chairpersons in the Soylent Green project until he recently quit, leading us to conclude that something people need to know might be going on behind the scenes. He lives a luxurious life in a range penthouse suite that comes with the perks of beautiful women. In the film, women are called furniture to show how they are being dehumanized and considered sex slaves. With shortage of food, finding meat has been one of the scarcities in these times, leading to cannibalistic behavior we are going to unpack in the film. The rise in the Earth's atmospheric temperature is a result of the greenhouse effect, which is primarily caused by the increase in carbon dioxide, CFCs, and other pollutants in the environment. This has had a great impact on the food supply and market, giving a dystopia feel. Politicians always have a person they want to assassinate, especially if they believe they can no longer tame them. No one wants to be the bad guy. This led the influential figures in Soylent Green to find it in their best interest to wipe off William. When you know too much, you have to be eliminated. How William was accepting of his fate. He could not even fight for his life because the secret he carried seemed like a burden, more torture to him than a death sentence. William knew he had a gun on his head the moment he quit his job. With the cruelty of the world, the criminal dealt well with William and was done with his task. Thorne had a new case to investigate, the murder of businessman William R. Simonson. The death alone is suspicious. The owner of the apartments looked guilty. Living in a high-maintenance building comes with high-tech security. However, in this case, the CCTV footage could not capture the intruder, meaning the video was gotten rid of by a sellout. Thorne was privileged when doing his job. He could enter the territory of the wealthy with some form of authority, the perks of being in the police force. William's home was luxurious. This prompted Thorne to want to check out the house further and even steal some of the items of the deceased. The house had proper running water and bar soaps, something that Thorne in the lower class could not be able to afford. So he managed to take the wine, soap, towel, veggies, and fruit. Thorne is a good man, as he wanted to see if, when William was alive, has ever raised his hand on his woman or whether he was a gentleman. The woman was happy with no indication of any form of abuse. When Thorne came back home from work, he had carried with him the books belonging to William R. Simonson's previous records at Soylent Green for Sol to come up with clues. With the food he brought with him, it was going to be a feast. In all this, we can see Sol Roth is the brains while Thorne comes with willpower. The secrets still to be uncovered from the books will be found by Sol. We should wonder how a man of his old age would react if William just accepted death with open arms. The food had Sol smiling from ear to ear, for it had been a long time since they had eaten a proper meal and enjoyed it. As Thorne was busy removing stolen goods from the silk pillowcase, he also took out red meat. which had Sol emotional. It shows appreciation to Thorne for how resourceful he is. Thorne is one of the best cops. I wish I could say the same for his sergeant. All he wanted was for Thorne to get done with this high-profile case. He understood it could bring attention to himself or Thorne. Soylent Green supplied food to a large number of people. Thorne had already begun his investigation. He wanted to pinpoint the culprits behind Mr. Simonson's death. Good thing he started by spying on his bodyguard. The man seemed cold-hearted and calculated. When Thorne came inquiring about the bodyguard, he was told where to knock. Upon his arrival, a woman who was eating one of Soylent Green's products was present at home. She decided to get rid of some of the evidence, but not all, because she left a teaspoon on top of the white saucer. Thorne had a good skill of spotting something that is not set in place. After thoroughly searching for piece of evidence, he saw the teaspoon and took it. When Thorne arrived home, he was hit with the delicious smell of food. Sol was being a chef for the day. As they were setting the plates and pouring the wine, Sol took out small cutlery as if he was saving it for the exact day they could enjoy a decent meal together. The expressions they made were priceless. You could see it was more than just food. It was more like a nostalgic moment that brought back locked memories. Due to shortage supply of water, the only way residents got water was to haul water from communal spigots. This showed that there was poor sanitation and people could easily contract infections. Sol was resourceful because he was a former college professor and police researcher. Since Thorne gave him the books earlier, he was still getting to the bottom of the truth. He concluded that the murder did not come about because of burglary, but it was an assassination. Sol tasted the jelly-looking substance that Thorne retrieved from the bodyguard's home. He said it reminds him of strawberries. The latest product from Soylent Green is a new, more nutritious, and flavorful wafer derived from plankton. Thorne was piecing two and two together. William's death was connected to the Soylent Green project. Governor Henry C. Santini pays a visit to Thorne's superior to order him to dispose of the case file concerning the murder of William R. Simonson. Thorne's superior agrees because he believes he just has to disclose this to Thorne, then everything will be dealt with. With women choosing a life of being concubines, they have little to no rights. They can be passed down from one apartment owner to another. Thorne pays a visit to William's concubine, whom he forms a romantic relationship with throughout his investigation. We can see that Thorne has fallen head over heels for the young woman. They even engage in some intimacy. These are little distraction in Thorne's case. In his little endeavors, he still manages to get information about William's whereabouts before his unfortunate death. With the help of Simonson's concubine Shirl, his investigation leads to a priest whom Simonson had visited. Shortly after, there is a commotion where some of the girls are beaten by the apartment owner for leaving their units. This troubles Thorne so much that he ends up threatening the frail man. Thorne goes to the shelter the priest had built for many of the homeless. At the entrance, he discovers a heartbreaking sight where a baby boy is still bound to his mom, who is no more. He unfastens the rope and enters with the boy inside the shelter. The distasteful look on the priest's face was evident, as he was still restless from William's confession. The priest could only hint to Thorne the small details of the confession. Thorne's superiors order him to end the investigation, but he continues, fearing that he will lose his job if he files a false report. While the board members of Soylent Cooperation have a meeting, they decide they need to devise a plan to remove the priest and snoopy detective Thorne, who will ruin them. After years of hard work and making the population dependent on Soylent Green. Soon after, the priest is murdered in the confessional by Fielding, Simonson's former bodyguard. We see the form of exchange as Soylent goods are being given out to the crowd. Thorne tries to control a violent crowd during a Soylent Green shortage riot. He is attacked by the assassin who killed Simonson. Thorne manages to locate the killer and throw him to the ground. Then, the killer shoots Thorne in the leg before being crushed by the hydraulic shovel of a police riot control vehicle. Roth arrived at the Supreme Exchange with 2 volumes of the Soylent Oceanographic Survey Report, which were taken by Thorne from Williams' apartment and cover the period of 2015 to 2019. The oceanographic reports reveal that the oceans are dying and unable to produce the plankton used to make Soylent Green. This confirms that the main ingredient in Soylent Green is human bodies. Sol Roth realizes that Simonson's murder was ordered by his fellow Soylent Corporation board members, who were afraid he might expose the truth to the public. Sol Roth is shaken by the truth and goes to the government clinic where he seeks assisted suicide. The nurse and workers at the clinic welcome him and take him to bed rest, where images of old life during the period of good old times are displayed on the big screen. It pleases Roth to be taken down memory lane as he is slowly dying. Thorne discovers this, and rushes to stop him, but arrives too late. Before dying, Roth whispers his discovery about the Soylent Green project to Thorne, who is seen horrified. With this shocking discovery, Thorne knew he needed proof, at least he needed to witness everything with his own 2 naked eyes. Thorne's goal now was to bring this matter to the attention of the leaders in the Supreme Exchange. Such a gruesome act needed to be presented to the Council of Nations so that they could take action. Thorne secretly boards a waste truck transporting human bodies from the euthanasia center to a waste disposal plant, where he witnesses human corpses instead being processed and turned into Soylent Green. Thorne is discovered, but he escapes. Thorne returns to the Supreme Exchange to report this inhuman act. After getting caught, he is ambushed by Fielding and his goons, possessing weapons determined to finish Thorne for going too far. Finding refuge in the church where Simonson confessed, he tries to hide. Fielding takes killing seriously, which is why the governors entrusted this job to him. After the wild goose chase, innocent people were caught up in this gunfight and got fired at by Fielding. Finally, Thorne kills his attackers but is seriously wounded in a gunfight. As paramedics tend to Thorne, he urges his commanding officer, Chief Hatcher, to spread the truth.